What is fascia?
Well, it's connective tissue. So what is connective tissue? The connective tissue is, if you look in the anatomy books, it's white. It's also if you eat meat and you eat animal meat, then you will see it as white. It's white, more white than muscle tissue, and it lies everywhere in your body, around everywhere. I mean, it connects stuff in your body. I mean, it connects bones, it connects organs to organ, and organ to muscle, and muscle to to joint, and muscle to bone, etc., 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 in the brain, everywhere in the body. And when you breathe, it's also about movement in the fascial system. I mean, it's not just the diaphragm and the lungs that move. Actually, the lungs are part of the fascial system. So the connective tissue is tissue that can be very. I need to use my bands here, my elastic bands. I like to show things. So it can be very tight, because it has to. It's the function of the fascial tissue in that specific area in your body. And other places, it needs to be very flexible. So that is how we are designed with the fascial tissue. The fascial tissue also is where you store energy. I mean, when you move, then it's like you store energy when you move. For example, when the tennis player moves his racket behind his body, and then he uses the energy that was stored in that movement, then he uses the energy. That is also one of the properties of the functions of the fascial tissue. And some people explain it like it's holding on to. I mean, it holds stuff together. I don't like the image of holding. I rather like the image of that elasticity. So it is elastic, and some places more than others, and it connects everything from top to toe. So the lungs and the diaphragm are connected through the fascial tissue to the jaw, for example, and the tongue, and also all the way down to the feet. So when I work with bodies around breathing, we also work with the feet and with the jaws. Also, well, just one thing I'd like to add on to this talk is the intelligence of the tissue. That is quite new through the science. I mean, not new anymore, but it's still new to people. That we know nowadays that the fascial tissue, the connective tissue, are more, in my words, it's intelligent than muscle tissue, for example, because it has a lot more proprioceptors. I mean, nerve endings that send signals to the brain. What I know until now, they say that it has 6 times more than any other tissue. So it's very intelligent, it's very awake. And then if it gets stiff, and it should not be that, then we are a little bit stuck into the communication system in our bodies, because then when you don't move tissue, the signals and the alertness of the tissue, I mean, the proprioception, the awareness is not that well functioning, and it means that the brain lacks information from that area.
Tell us, I've got so many questions for you. Tell us about what you do with the feet. So what would you do to release fascia?
We can't do it, but it's a little bit difficult because I can't move my camera around. Sure. If I didn't bring my skeleton foot, but if this is my foot, all right, my hand is my foot. Then it's so simple. I mean, everything I do is very simple. So don't expect me to say something new. I mean, something that's just, well, that was new for the body. But I just work with the simple knowledge we have, and I try to integrate that into my breathwork. So the knowledge we have is that the feet are very important for the brain. So information from the feet we need to survive. I mean, we need to connect to the parasympathetic system, being able to breathe well. We can't breathe well in sympathetic. I mean, only if we have to run, we need sympathetic. So also that was the nervous system part of it, but also I work with the tissue around the feet. I mean, under the sole of the foot, in the arch, and also in other areas, but a lot in the arch of the foot, because when you release the arch of the foot, you also release a connective, a fascial connection that runs from the arch of the foot all the way down behind your lower leg, behind your knee, through the inner thighs, and then to the pelvic floor, and then through the psoas, and then the diaphragm, and then the lungs, and then through the front of your neck, your tongue, and your jaws, all the way to the top of your head. So what I just tried to explain was that long line. I typically say it's almost like a line, like a rubber band that starts under your feet. So when you work with people's breath, trying to make it easier to breathe, not they don't have to fight that much because they have a stiff body, then I can actually help them release the low back, for example, or their back part of their diaphragm and the back part of their lungs by working with the feet. And also another important thing to say is that when you work with your feet, you ground even better than the moment before. I mean, what is grounding? It's a little bit fluffy, but grounding, you need to be able to sense the surface you're standing on, telling your brain that from the feet to connect, being safe. Being safe, you can breathe. Not safe, you can't breathe. I mean, you breathe like we don't like to breathe when we were expected to be safe, you know. So when you don't have a feeling of grounding and you don't have information from your feet, they are stiff, then the brain thinks, wow, this might be a little bit dangerous right now, so I do not engage to parasympathetic state. I need to be a little bit alert. Yeah, that's my thoughts behind what I do, and people love it. And how I do it, you started asking me that before I started talking. But how I do it is I can use my hands. I mean, people can use their hands. They can massage. They can move the foot. They can wiggle the foot. They can do just what they like. Just move it and massage it. Going deep into the arch of the foot. Typically, people don't like their hands to touch the feet that much, and it's a little bit difficult, etc. So I use small balls. I actually have one here. I use small, a little bit soft balls that with small dots on. But you could use a tennis ball, or you could use whatever you have around. Sometimes I use the edge of a stair. When I go out in the mornings, I open my door, I go out, look in the garden, I breathe a little bit, and then I just use, the edge of the stair, you understand that? To massage my arch, yeah. Just to tell you that you can do it wherever you want to. And sometimes people think I'm a little bit silly talking about feet and breathing. But I always tell people you should go back home, try it for a while every day. Please do it morning and evening, and then see what happens. Safe state, feeling of grounding, and feeling of a release is the right word, I think. An easier engagement to release and engage to the breath. Did that make sense? Did I explain that well enough in English? Yeah.
Yes. No, very good. Very. So even though fascia is everywhere and it's over everything, is it right to say that as well as it being everywhere, there are pathways of stronger connections? Because sure, if it's everywhere, then the ear's already touching the nose and all. But what you're saying is the feet have got a stronger connection to the tongue and to the lungs, say stronger than the wrist, for example. So there's so how many of these like strong pathway channels are there? Is there an infinite amount of these, or in the fascia work you do, are there some like key channels that you would focus on? Just pausing the podcast to let you know something so exciting. On the 11th of January, Lottie and I will be hosting a 4-week fascia release program live. We're going to keep it very intimate and very small so we can see you and support you. The best part is you don't need any fancy equipment, a towel, the floor, and your body. So if you're interested, it's going to be an intimate affair. The link is down below. You can either get on the waiting list, or we may have even started to open up tickets, but once they're gone, they're gone. So if you have been curious about this podcast so far and you'd like to physically learn how to release your own fascia so you can breathe better, move better, think better, be more relaxed, less tense, all the things that fascia release has to offer, then click on the link below. All right, let's get back on with the podcast. Cheers.
Well, I learned this from Thomas Maher, who did the Anatomy Trains textbook. I have to acknowledge his work.
Okay.
So that was many, many years back. I was introduced to this way of thinking. So I would say there are many, many lines. I mean, there will be many, many connections. But when I do my breath work and when I use this into breathing, I typically focus on specific connections that really make sense and is easy for the body to understand and easy for the person to understand. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Right. So a couple of questions for you then. So stress. So if someone's got a stressful job and their mind is stressed, how is that affecting fascia? What's the because we talk a lot about mind body connection. This is a very common thing people talk about these days. But if I've got a stressful job, how would that affect my fascia?
Yeah. Well, the fascial system reacts upon what happens in our lives. So it's part of the tensing system. It's not only the muscles that that's trying to protect you when you're stressed up, when you don't feel good, when your thoughts makes you crazy or whatever life makes you crazy. It's not just the muscles that makes the wall around you or somewhere trying to protect you. That's what the body does. It is very much the fascial system. It reacts a lot and reacts like cramming, like it holds you. Yeah, that is really what did you actually ask me about, Mike?
Yeah, so like the mind being busy and the mind being tight. How is that like transferring to like tight fascia? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it looking specifically at breathing, when your mind drives you crazy, you hold your breath. We know that. So when you hold your breath, you don't move the 3D breath, as I pronounce it, well enough, 24/7, like it's supposed to move, and then you get stiff. And what gets stiff also is the fascial system. So the fascial tissue gets stiff. And this is a negative circle, of course, because then you get stiff. And when you try to breathe again a little bit better, it's a little bit harder because then you're a little bit tight, you're a little bit stiff. Because breathing is a movement inside of you that also needs space outside of you. So your thoughts travels or mirrors your body mirrors your thoughts. That's the way to say it, so, in my opinion, and that's how I see bodies working out. I mean, even my own body. It's like some days it's like more, wow, Lotte, what did you actually? How did that happen today? So I get a little bit, I mean, acutely tied up in my tissue, and when that goes on if that goes on for people the day after, I mean for months and years, then you can get so tight. I mean, really so tight that it really don't want to move. It really doesn't want to move. And then you have to address it, in my opinion and my experience. You have to address it and you have to work with it. You can't think it loose again. Maybe some people out there says, that's not right. You can think of everything, but that's fine. Then do it. But my experience is like you have to be a little bit more addressing the specific tissue that got tied to help it to waken up again, to integrate. Yeah. But as soon as your thoughts drives you crazy again, the body reacts.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. But having these tools is I think after our first podcast, this resonated with so many people because I think so many people feel tight and compressed and stuck. And so the work that you're doing, it lit a fire. So let me ask you this. I've had 2 fascia sessions with a person, and they've done some work on the jaw and on the diaphragm and the sternum and the clavicles and psoas. These are some of the main areas, and then some on the back. And then I'll go home and I practice the exercises, and I'm getting in. I'm like, and I'm working my way. What has been fascinating is there is so much pain or tight pain is probably the right word. I'll be here. I'll be like, oh wow, this is really sore. Or I'll be like maybe here, and I'll be, wow, this bit is really sore. I never knew how sore this was, and I'll work it for a little bit. Can you talk a bit about what's going on there? Because it's like our mind is trying to protect us from this pain, but when we start to explore it, we find it, and we think, wow, how much our body is doing to keep us straight. And when we start to, I've been. The feeling I get when I do the fascial work is one of like love and sympathy for my body. And I'm like, oh, you poor body, you're dealing with so much. Wow, you've been dealing with so much for so many decades. And I'm like just giving it some love again. And I'm starting to feel a bit more open. So it's a bit of a rant, but just give us your thoughts on like all these little bits of pain that we've got everywhere and what's going on there.
I think the pain is there to tell you that you need to take care of it. It is there to tell you, if it was just, I mean, if the tissue was just tight and there were no pain, there were no messenger really to tell you that you need to take care of it. So I think, first of all, the pain is meant to be a messenger to tell you that this is an area you have to take care of. This is also a nice way meeting it, I think. And secondly, then it really is, if you look into the tissue, normally to get pain in tissue that doesn't move that much because you don't get circulation and you don't get the oxygen that you need for every cell in the tissue to, stay healthy. So, and stay flexible, etc. The areas that gets tied up and sore and hurts when you touch it and when you work with it, these areas, I find it not easy. It's not the right word. I search a little bit in English now for the word. I don't find it's easy, but it's available to work with it. So it's not like, all right, this is really, it hurts and it's, I will never fix this. It's not like that. I find it really possible, but a really important message from me to change that situation in the tissue is that you need to work with it on a daily basis for a while. Typically, people go for treatment, and treatments are fantastic. I'll never say anything else. And so important. I use it myself. But to help yourself on the long run and to help the treatment grow, you need to do something on your body you did that, I hear from the practitioner, your practitioner. So you already did that, but that is so important. I use my hands for people. I got them here. I use balls that like 3D breath balls and soft balls with air. I use it on all of the body. That is mainly onto a wall or onto the floor. I use a towel like this, and that is just examples. But my message really is that to understand that is like if you want to change your breath, you have to do something every day. You can't just do it one time a week. I mean, for 5-10 minutes. You have to do something every day to change something. And that's the same with the tissue when we talk about fascia.
Mm.
That is often a little bit hard for people to understand. Because, wow, you need to do this every day? Maybe not for an hour, no. But you need to do something like you brush your teeth, etc. Every day. For a while.
Mm.
And then also, you have to take care of your life, of course. Because if you continue having all the stress in your life, then the body will still react negatively. The breath will still react negatively. And talking about all of this from my standpoint is really important to say that every breath is a movement. I like this one. So every time we breathe in, it's a movement inside of us. We can feel inside and outside, and it needs space. Now I'm exaggerating, of course. And when we exhale, you get smaller, 3-dimensionally, because that intra-abdominal pressure, etc. I use my ball now. So when you press into the abdomen, the intra-abdominal pressure increases, and the pressure increases in the thorax, in the upper body, in the lungs, and then you have to expand, and then it goes back, and you get smaller on the exhale. Why I talk about this is because I have to make sure that you understand being able to breathe freely needs space in your body. So if you're too tight, either it is the fascial system or whatever it is in your body. It's not everything that goes from the fascial system. I mean, the organs can be a little bit too tight. A lot of stuff. The diaphragm has, stuck itself. So whatever it is that got too tight, you have to address it. You have to address it somehow. And in my experience, it's a little bit hard to address only from the brain. I mean, thinking about moving, if you are really tight, then I think you should have to work into the tissue, into the areas somehow to release and then use it from the up and down. I mean, from the brain down consciously. Does this make sense, Mike? A little bit? Do I understand it? Do I explain it?
Very good.
So you are able to understand a little bit, yeah.
Yes.
So it's really about I hope to get that point out. Also, when you talk about, there's a lot about the biochemistry. This was biomechanics around breathing, and then the biochemistry around breathing is so important. Of course, you need that balance between around oxygen and carbon dioxide. Of course, you need that. And that is baseline for how we breathe. I mean, that's why we breathe. We need to balance that all the time. But being able to balance the biochemistry, you need a good biomechanical system. I met many people trying to make a longer exhale, for example, through the years. And some of them, they really succeed. They do it very well, and they can even do a breath hold, and they can do everything like that. Fine. And then I meet a group of people that are not able really to make that long, slow exhale, and they can't really feel the inhale. They're really struggling and holding the breath. They can't really do it, etc., etc. And yes, that's about carbon dioxide tolerance, and that's another talk. But if the mechanical system, if the movements around the breath doesn't work very well, you're not able to make that gas exchange. It's about gas exchange in the lungs. You're not able to make that exchange well because it's not a cognitive task. It is a body task.
Yeah, I'd love to explore. It was really only this year that really twigged for me. I did a certification in biomechanics, and really, they were talking in there a lot about, it doesn't matter, you can talk about the nose all day, but at the end of the day, if your ribs are so tight you can't take a deep breath and your diaphram's stuck, then, let's fix the mechanics
I love
first.
that, Mike.
Yeah.
That is so true.
Yeah.
I communicate nose breathing so much in everything I do.
Mm-hmm.
But also I try to remember always to talk about that biomechanical part of the nose because there need to be a system to move the air in and out. The nose doesn't do it itself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love that. Interesting. Yeah.
Very interesting. Just to pause for a second, Lottie, every time you bang the table, it makes like a blah, 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 blah noise on the camera. Just a heads up. I'll make a quick note of the time, 26:20.
Perfect.
But yeah, I know it's easy to do, but every time I'm like, we can probably edit it out. Anyway, I'll come back to it. So another question about the fascia I want to ask you, because I'm, again, obsessed with this. So when we massage the fascia, maybe it's in the ear or the foot or diaphragm, or you use a ball and you get in there and you do the work you do, just talk us through what is happening to the fascia during the process of the pressure, but afterwards. Like, why are we doing this? Like, what is the mechanism that happens with the fascia release therapy? How does it work?
There are many different techniques around fascia release. I'm not a specific technique. I don't work with that, but I really work with the easy technique. I mean, that people can use to themselves too. I mean, it doesn't have to be too technical, but it is like when you work into the body. No, I just use this one. When you work into the tissue, very soft, it does one movement to you could say a layer of the fascial tissue and some specific proprioceptors. And if you do it harder push into the tissue, it does something new. And then when I turn it around, if I use that movement, it does something new. I mean, it's obvious, but also the tissue adapts differently. And the brain registers differently. And this, and when if I took this ball and did the same, I roll, I move around, I push. It's all different movements into the fascial tissue that is releasing it differently. That means, I think this explains why a normal stretch of the body, I mean a stretch like we did for hundreds of years, typically, and don't listen to me, I don't say never, but I say typically doesn't work that well to release specific areas of the body as it does to go directly into the tight area to release. I know I think I used the image in our first podcast around having a knot in your hair.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you have a tight knot in your hair, then you can't really take it out. I just try to help my camera. All right. It's coming. You can't take it out just by pulling one way. You have to do like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. You have to be a little gentle, then a little harder, a little gentle, a little harder. And this is how you release your fascial tissue too. I love that image because that
Okay.
makes you understand you have to work in many different ways, many different touches, movements, and actually also different props
Yeah.
if it's possible. Yeah.
I love that. So there's
Mm.
not just one way to do this. So again,
Mm.
if we're working the jaw, there's different pressure areas,
Yeah.
twisting. That's
Mm.
really, really interesting. And when we say release, if you could give me that in like a different word, like
Yeah.
how else would we describe what happens afterwards?
Yeah. Release is a strange word in English, I think, but we use it actually in Denmark too a little
Mm,
bit. So, what is release? Because release can be, it can be a physical thing, but it can also be a mental.
mm,
So when we talk about the fascial tissue, I think there's both understandings also. But release for me in regards to the fascial tissue and the breath is like when you feel less tight,
okay.
feel a little
Nice.
more loose, you feel a little more
Yes.
like you have more space for the next breath,
Yeah.
and not that much resistance. And then in the mental area, it's more like you felt that you got rid of something. I mean, you feel a little lighter in your thoughts afterwards
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
wherever it's stored. Yeah.
That's good. I've only had, like I said, I've only had 2 sessions so far, but when I leave, I feel 10 years younger. I have
Yeah.
so much more space and the
Yeah.
mind is just much calmer. I'm
Mm.
like, wow, this is
Yeah.
incredible. And it's not
Yeah.
even massage. It's just, it's just the release.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on cupping?
Oh, I think it's a fantastic technique.
Mm,
2024, there are many different ways to work. And actually, I have to say also, of course, that when you meet a practitioner that is specialized in myofascial release, they of course know much more specific how to go into specific areas, for example, the jaw, and
yeah,
how to twist the finger, the hand, and what to do, especially specific to release specific areas. And the tool you can use will be cupping. Yeah. So I think that is good. It's not
mm,
going to fix everything, I think, but it's a part. It's a tool in the suitcase for toolbox. um, yeah.
mm. Okay. So it's another,
I
because
mean, yeah,
it's doing something different to the fascia, right? Because it's sucking it as
it
opposed to
is
pushing it. So it's
exactly,
another
exactly.
tool. Okay,
And
interesting.
I always um, I always recommend people not to do one way to, as I mean, not to use one strategy when they want to help themselves, also in regarding to tight areas. So the strategy of pushing and pushing and pulling the tissue would be a very good idea. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
So I've only just discovered this after 40 years and we're doing
Yeah.
this work now and we're
Yeah.
talking. How
Mm.
long before I'm released,
Mm.
or is this just a lifelong process now? Do you
Mm.
do fascial work on yourself every day? Is it something that never ends? Talk to us about what it looks like now, because I'm thinking, well, I'm doing
Mm.
1 session a week. I'm doing the work you've taught me.
Yeah.
Do I ever reach a certain point where it's like I'm cured, or is that not really what we should be thinking about here? We should be thinking about steady progress for the rest of our
I
lives.
love that question, Mike, because I love it because it's an important question. I think
Mm,
it is really is. Well, it's also a little bit hard to answer, but I can talk from my own point of my own body, my own life. I breathe quite well. I do actually. That is nice. So, uh, but uh, also I have periods where I feel tighter. That is when my life stress is a little bit more stress than it's good for me.
mhm.
And I'm a normal person also, so I live a life that is like many other lives. So it's sometimes too much. Then I use my own strategies. more in my own exercises, a little bit more than I need when I'm more in flow. I mean, when life is more in flow and there's not that many things to take care of. So my body, and I mean everybody's body, it reacts upon that life they're living. Also in regard to tightness. So that is one answer, that it's gonna vary throughout the rest of your life. That is to be honest. I think I wouldn't be honest to say that you could just do half a year and then you're fixed and then everything is good. That's crazy stupid, I think. When that's said, when you work on your body for a period of time, I can't tell you how long, because that depends on the life you live and where you came from, how the body are at the moment, where you started, etc. But when you work on your body, do some work in the period of time with good repetition, good exercises for your body, then you are going to change the baseline from where you are. And this means you lift your baseline. It means you lift the lower level in your body to a better level, to a higher level. And that is very good. I mean, then you can always find that. And you are freeing up your body. And then your brain knows how it is. How does that feel? It can recognize it. And you can so much easier float when you push back into not a nice feeling in the body, then you can easily float into that nice feeling again because you know what to do, the body knows what to do, and typically you don't get that tight as before because you recognize the feeling coming in before it's too bad.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so my answer also to how much do you need to do this rest of your life? So yes, some of it I think you should do rest of your life. I massage my feet every morning I stand up.
Okay.
Because that helps me starting my day. I breathe just a little bit better afterwards and I land, my nervous system lands. And well, some people do meditation every day. I do my own kind of meditation with the breath. Whenever I have a spot I can do it, I do that. That helps me, and that is fascial work too.
Yeah.
So I also have to say that movement itself moves the fascia. So one of the issues we have for human beings 2024 is that we don't move enough, but we don't move well also. So when we don't move, the tissues get stuck and the fascial tissue gets tight and it cramps in. So just starting to move. Also, when I talk about breathing, I talk about how the lungs get stuck into the rib cage and the diaphragm gets stuck when we move, when we walk. I can't really show it that much here, but when we walk like blocks, we don't swing the arms and we don't move the rib cage anymore because something happened that we kind of forgot that. We hold on to ourselves. So this tightens up the rib cage, it tightens the lungs, the diaphragm. Yeah. And then also another way, simple way starting to work with the fascial tissue is to start to move a little bit in the rib cage. So that is another way than working into the tissue directly in certain spots. Yeah.
Yes. What I find so interesting is, I think, I was born in the 80s, and everything that I was ever taught about exercise was go hard or go home, know. And so everything's like fast exercise, lift heavy weights. And then you think about things like Qigong, which is like ancient, Asian practice, thousands of years old, or Tai Chi. And a lot of it is like just gentle movements. And when I'm listening to what you're saying here, that makes more sense now because their body's in flow. They're moving it every day. They're moving all these different positions. And okay, they're not lifting a really heavy weight and really hurting themselves, but they're doing things more gently. And they seem to have or from what I've seen, more mobility in older age than we tend to have in some of those regions. So that's really interesting. What you said about meditation, this has blown my mind
Yeah.
because I've done a lot of work on what we call introception, like close my eyes, feel my breath, maybe
Um,
I feel some like sadness in my eyes or maybe some stress, and I'm doing all this like introception work. And this is what like Buddhists teach as well. It's really important to feel the body. However, I have to say the most powerful introception work is doing self fascia massage, because you're like, oh wow, there's something there. That's really interesting. Okay, gentle, breathe, relax. Oh wow, and so suddenly I do this like 15-minute fascia exercise in the morning before I get out of bed, and I've spent all this time in my body feeling all these different pressure points. Like, oh, I never knew there was tension here before. So I have to say, like, this has been like the most powerful introception work I've ever done. Have you? What's your thoughts on that?
Definitely,
Yeah.
I follow you. I definitely follow you. I do. It's that's why I keep talking about it, because it's my toolbox that's full of that way of working. So because it's so powerful. Sometimes people think it's a little bit silly. So also, if some listeners think that too, how could that help me around this and this and this and around the breath? It is so powerful. It is so powerful, and your brain loves it, and the brain connects then to the breath, etc. So I can just agree, Mike.
Yeah.
It is. So if I have to correct myself, if I have to help myself acutely during the day, I get too stressed. I'm like I said, I'm a normal person. I can get a little bit out of myself. Wow. I massage my feet. That's one of the things I do all the time, but it's not every time I can do it, Sometimes I'm in some shoes also. And then I just use my hands, and I have some favorite ones I do. We did some of them last time we met, but also I use my hands into my ribs, in my lower ribs. I really I massage my lower ribs. I lift up myself a little bit. I just massage my lower ribs a little bit. I can do that, for 1 minute. And then I hold my hands like this, like the 3D touch, I call it. 3D fingers, my fingertips in the front, just below my lower ribs, and then in the back, just below my lower ribs in the back. And then I hold on to myself just for a few breaths, feeling that movement that happens between my fingers when I breathe in and when I breathe out. And then I connect to myself again. Then I connect it to the breath. And when you connect to the breath, then you can navigate, feel, etc., what's going on.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And that is fascial tissue stimulation too, because of the touch. And then the breath is fascial tissue stimulation.
Talk to us a bit, Lottie, about the psoas muscles. Like, what is it? Why is it a problem? What can we do about it?
Wow, I love the psoas. I think it's important to understand that it lies in the back. I think I have to pull my friend here now, just to make sure everybody got that. I have the diaphragm that is right here, symbol. And the psoas, it grows from the 12 thoracic vertebrae on each side. It grows down here and through the pelvis, and just through down here onto that bony area in each side here. It is connected to the diaphragm, like tissue connected to the diaphragm with the fascial tissue too, but and it's very much integrated into the diaphragm. So you can't really, in my point of view, you can't separate the psoas and the diaphragm. So when you breathe, you have your psoas is having a touch every time. Actually, your kidney lies just in front and moves down when you inhale, moves up when you exhale, just in front of the psoas. So the psoas feels a massage every time you breathe. But if you're too tight in the back, you are really tied up in your low back and your lower ribs in the back, then the diaphragm doesn't really have the space being able to breathe into that back part of your lungs and to let that psoas feel the breath. And the psoas needs movement like any other muscle does.
Mm-hmm.
Together with that, typically I see people don't use the hips well enough. Because of the way we live on chairs, we don't go that much into the floor in the Western society, and we don't really walk that well enough. We don't go into deep squats when we go into toilet. We sit on a chair on the toilet, etc., etc., etc. So when you don't flex your hips well every day, I mean, if you don't move the hips all around the possible movements in the hip, and that's a lot. If you don't do that, you're not nursing your diaphragm and your psoas, because the psoas is also a hip flexor, but the psoas also is the one that is stimulated when you flex the hip. It has to move a little bit in the deep flexion, and it has to stretch a little bit in the extension of the hip. So the pumping of the use of the pumping of the use of the psoas is very important for the diaphragm. So it goes vice versa. And also talking about the psoas, I work a lot with the understanding of the diaphragm as the core activator. I mean, the diaphragm needs to function very well three-dimensionally, being able to use your core muscles. And if the psoas is too tight and got stuck in a certain position, I mean, it's just got non-flexible, just stiff, not definitely short, long, whatever, it can just be stiff. Angry, I call it too. Then if it got like that, then it sits like in the back, it sits like this, and it won't move. When the diaphragm starts its movement, it won't move. It stays there. Then you can't engage your core muscles, your full core, because when you should engage your full core, you need to be able, now I just stand right here, this is the intra-abdominal area. This is the diaphragm, my hand. When you inhale, you push into the intra-abdominal area, you increase the intra-abdominal pressure, and it goes in expansion in 3 dimensions, also to the back. If that does not happen, you're not engaging the whole core system. Then you engage you push too much to the front, or you could push too much below, or you could just not be able to push down into that. I mean, increase that intra-abdominal pressure. And then you're stuck in your core. Then you need to engage muscles to hold on to yourself. And then you tied up the system again. So this was a long talk. I hope I didn't lose everybody now.
No, really good.
But because it's a little bit complex, starting to talk about these mechanical things going on around psoas, around the intra-abdominal pressure. But it's very important to understand that you could try to breathe well the next 30 years, but if you're too tight, it's not going to happen. That's what I'm trying to tell also. So you have to be curious about, where am I too tight? Maybe also it's in the psoas. So the psoas reflects tightness in the back. And if people are a little bit insecure of why I say that, is because the psoas, again, it sits onto the vertebrae. I mean, it sits onto the spine right here and right here. So it holds the spine. So if you're If it's too tight and doesn't want to move, then it holds the spine, and then you're not able to breathe well enough, engaging that intra-abdominal pressure. I mean, increasing that intra-abdominal pressure, so the push of it also goes to the back. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So my question would be, how can we release the psoas? What
Yes.
exercises can we do?
You could roll on balls, and we will do that. I do that also, actually, from the back side also. I work on the pelvis. I work on the back of the pelvis, the back of the low back, and the rib cage. And then we also work a little bit from the front side. And then I work a lot around releasing the pelvis into the hip area also. And then we work a lot around movements in the hip. We work with, simple movements like all fours. We do some rocking movements. We work into baby pose positions. We work in movements that is it's not only stretching the hip. We also do that, but we do many different directions of movement in the hip. That the psoas loves. But also I work with a kind of a resting position where I place, I think some people might know it a little bit like constructive rest. But I use it with the thigh bone in a vertical position. So the feet are onto a chair or something else. And then you lie in that position, and sometimes with a specific pillow, and then you lie here just breathing. Though that position is helping the psoas to release. I can't show it here on the table in front of, sorry, but it's trying to, it's helping the psoas to release without fight. So the gravity, the position, and the breathing helps the psoas releasing and trying to, release some of the holding on to something, because the last talk I can give you now for the psoas, not saying too much, but it is that the psoas is connected to our fear system. So when you are too stressed, when you got a little trauma, a big trauma, or whatever can come into your life, then the fascial system typically reacts, the breath reacts, but also the psoas. It's part of your survival system, because it's also the muscle that helps you run very, very fast if you should sprint, to move your legs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
What role does breathwork play in fascia release? Because we're talking about fascia release to help us breathe properly. But if the fascia system is connected to the nervous system and the fascia system is really tight, if I do some humming or some nice long exhales, would that help relax the fascia to then be able to release the fascia so you can breathe better? Is there a loop there? Just talk us a little bit about that.
I think there is. I'm not aware of any specific scientific study that tells that specific connection. Maybe you are. I'm not. I never heard that. But in my experience, there are definitely a connection. So when you, for example, you hum and you relax the nervous system, you engage the vagus nerve, you connect to the parasympathetic, and you have all of those physiological things coming in to the parasympathetic system, then I definitely experience that the body release tension, also the fascial system.
Yeah,
definitely. So it also goes that way. It tense up when you're too stressed, when something's going on, and it releases when you release yourself. From when you're not when you're not that stressed anymore. Yeah,
it makes sense. And the fascia's alive, I guess, right? The fascia's absorbing. The fascia needs oxygen to survive.
Yeah.
So So I'm guessing then if you're breathing slower, you're humming, you're bringing more oxygen to the fascia, you're relaxing your nervous system. It feels like there's something there.
Yeah,
And I felt it. I
must
felt it
be,
as well.
must
Yeah.
be,
When I'm doing a stretch and I've got a slow, long humming exhale, I feel like I can just relax and open up a little bit more. So
definitely.
yeah.
And sometimes I have an image in my behind my eyes. That's like when you have this, this tight muscles, this tight fascial tissue, these tight areas, whatever it is. And then when you release it, start releasing it a little bit, I mean, with the breath and with the fingers, with the ball or whatever you use, then I have that image like this tissue has been like screaming for oxygen. There's been none of it. So of course it's hurting a little bit. Of course it's giving you problems. It's troubleshooting you. And then when the cardiovascular system kicks in, I mean, when the blood flow comes in and the oxygen has a chance maybe to be released to the tissue, the fascial tissue or whatever tissue it is, it's like what you feel. That's what you try to explain, I think, because it's all about oxygen, isn't it? I mean, we need that into everything. So I really think that when you get that oxygen release into the body, I really feel it myself when I do the body stream that Anders Olsson, I think he called it's called the Cardisu right now, actually. But when I use that treatment, that's really what I feel, because my tissue has opened, my vessels had opened, my blood flow has exploded into areas that I'm not used to get that much release of oxygen.
Okay.
But that's the same we do when we do the fascial release, whatever strategy we use to release that fascial system.
Love it. I love it. I've got a few last questions for you. What are your thoughts on tapping and slapping?
Oh, tapping. I love that. I use it so much. Because also when it's one, well, when you tap, it lands somewhere. I mean, that's one stimulation that is registered by specific nerve endings. And when you touch, it's different. So also if clap, it's even, again, it's different. So, well, I love tapping. I do it very much. The hack I teach a lot of people is to, when they get a little bit stressed and they are out there, they can just tap their sternum a little bit, and then they vibrate the vagus nerve, and they can, if they want to, they can hum a little bit also, and then they are done. I mean, then they are better the moment after. So I know tapping is a specific strategy also you can use. I mean, it's a specific theory, it's a specific system for tapping. I'm not that much into that. But I like to tap,
And do you think that it's affecting the fascia?
Definitely. Yeah, I do. Because I say yes to everything you ask, Mike, but if it's affecting the fascia, because every movement affects the fascia.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't believe that you can make any research that would say anything negatively around movement into fascia.
Okay.
Unless it's violent. Yeah.
Sure. Well, okay, so let's think about temperature then. So what about sauna? So I use a lot of sauna. So here's the thing. I use sauna all the time, but I'm so tight. So I would like to say sauna would help. It hasn't really helped me. But what about sauna and... So let's say you do fascial work in the sauna. Would that be any different or not?
Yeah, I think so. It would be very good, I think. I use I don't have it right here, but I use specific pillows. It's like different sizes, there's different sizes, different figures. And then I can warm it. It's a little heavy, and then I warm it, some pillows, then I warm it in the microwave.
Okay.
And then we put it onto the rib cage, the sternum, and the back, and we do specific you could call it myofascial release. I typically say it's like we help the body to open the breath. I mean, help the body to breathe more freely. So we create space and awareness for the breath.
Yeah.
So they are warm. It's not just touch, and it's not just a little bit heavy, but it's also the warmth of it that is very beneficial. So I definitely think the warmth of the and the effect on the fascial tissue is very important.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. This one's a bit woo-woo, but what about frequencies and sound therapy? Have you explored anything to do with music and sound? And
I'm not really the one to ask. I might have a colleague that would be better to ask, but I'm not that much into the different what is it called? You just said it. Frequencies. Yeah, exactly. Not that much.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. If you can connect me with your colleague, that would be useful because I'm very interested.
I will definitely
Thank
do
you.
that. Yeah.
So a question about me then. So I've got very tight jaw.
Yep.
Tight shoulders and very sore lower back. So they're my what should I work on other than what we've spoke about already? So we've talked about feet, we've talked about psoas muscles, we're doing work here, but what else maybe should I consider looking at for those three problem areas?
So you said jaw, lower back, and you said a third?
Shoulders.
Yeah, shoulders. Right, all right. Well, yeah, I would love you to go to the floor, away from the vertical position.
Okay.
And spend time doing practical work on the floor. Not yoga work, that is also nice, but more something before that. And that could be with my balls, or it could be with this tower. I just released a program with this tower that I would love if you could try to do that, actually, because I think that's one of the ways to go. And then you would work on the backside. But not only on the backside, because sometimes we think that we need just to work on the tight areas. And we also do that. I also recommend to do that. That's what I just said also before. But I would also recommend to work on the opposite side of the tight area, or a little bit higher, because again, everything is connected. The fascial system and the joints itself and everything is connected. So front and back is connected, up and down is connected. So I want you to go down to the floor, being very slow, breathing very slow, and moving around on those balls, massaging, stretching a little bit, nothing quick. Really releasing into the tissue, breathing into the tissue. And that you should do, I mean, every day. That is hard to do every day, but you should do something every day. And you could do the second day, and then the day in the middle, you could do something with the hands, for example, and then do that for a period of time. And I typically say at least a month, and maybe you should do it 3, 4, 5, 6 months. I don't know. That's what I would recommend.
Yeah.
So I will start working into the tissue before trying to control the breath more. Like, I have to use that area. Now I have to use that area.
Yes.
That we can add on later on, but we will do it a little bit together also. And then with the jaws, I think you already met a good guy teaching you exercises, but also I would recommend you to do some exercises with the tongue, with the jaw, with this area itself, and also with the front of the neck. And then I would definitely, I think, I don't know your body, I don't just know it from the screen here, but I think that you need to work with the sternum. the breastbone. The sternum connects the ribs to the back, and the sternum, also your shoulders, actually kind of hangs onto the sternum via the clavicle and via the ribs to the shoulder area, etc. So I often find it very useful for people to work with the sternum, even though it is the shoulders, even though also it's the low back. So the sternum talks to the sacrum, the triangle bone in the bottom of the spine, and they both have to kind of talk together when you breathe. So if one of them are stuck or they don't move that freely, then the other pays the bill also. Yeah. And I think also I will really work with you. I'd really recommend you to work into the deep of the pelvis, into the sit bones, into your tailbone.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe it makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, yes, it does. It does. It's very interesting.
People might think, how do I do it? Yes, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. This is I had some psoas massage a couple of days ago from the Fascia, and that was very interesting because we were deep in here, and I've never had someone's fingers in there before, so that was an interesting experience. So,
there are many different ways to work on the body, and that is fantastic. I think I really love that. I when we talk about breath and freeing up the breath, I typically recommend to be a little bit respectful, and I rather go for the you could call it the interoception. I mean the feeling of it instead of the strength of it. It's the strength of a stretch or whatever. I also use stretches.
Sure.
Yeah, but and the push of it. So I think. I think it's just important to respect the body and to be kind.
Yeah.
Because if you push it too much, then it's gonna pull you back again. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. I think people that are watching this, if they've not started playing with these therapeutic techniques, it's very interesting because you think you know your body. And I think also we have a lot of body shame these days. I hate the way my body looks and all these different things. But what I've learned through this process, which has been so interesting, is just like how much love you have for your body when you're in there and you realize like how much it's doing to like keep you upright, like all the little niggles and pains and the reasons it's trying to adjust itself constantly to keep you going, no matter what you throw at it. You sit in a chair all day and you don't move and all these things, and your body's constantly trying to keep you going. And it's just left me with like a lot of respect and love for this machine, which we don't really think about very often. So thank you for all the work you do.
I really, can I say just a little thing, Mike? I think this hating your body, don't liking your body, don't like your body, you don't need, you don't feel comfortable in your body, it's because we're disconnected to the body. It's not only about how you look, but it is much more about how you feel inside of your body. So the work, what we've just been talking about the last hour, is so important to connect and to be a friend with yourself instead. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I've not felt this excited about something since I discovered breathwork like 10 years ago. It's so interesting to me that a lot of people still don't even know what we're talking about. It's so fringe for some people. They still don't even have an idea about the fascia system, which is why I think your podcast did so well, because so many people resonate with you and your work. Is there anything we haven't covered, Lottie, that you'd like to cover?
Well, I'm a Danish, I don't think I have the Holy Grail. That's important for me to say in the end, because in Danish we have a word I don't remember in English now, but it's important for me to say that there are many people that knows much more about the fascial system than me. But my communication, I hope I got it through, is that it doesn't need to be difficult. Sometimes people get the idea that it's difficult to work on your body. I mean, it's difficult. You need to go to a practitioner. You need to learn a lot before doing it. But I really want to tell that it's about movement. So breath is movement, and breath is a movement. Breath needs space. Yeah. So when you find a spot that is not moving, I mean, it's not flexible, it's stiff, or it's hurting a little bit, it's sore, then start doing something and think about how you use your body. Start sitting on the floor instead a little bit. Take off the shoes. Rub yourself. Use your hands. Whatever. Use your intuition. But the problem is nowadays our intuition cuts off somehow because many people are too much into, the screen, the phone, and whatever they have to do. So we get kind of disconnected from our body. And when we do that, we need tools to get back to our body. And then you can massage your feet. Then you can breathe a little bit, and then you can go back. Then you get back to your intuition. So I really just want to say now that please keep it simple. So all of my breath work is very simple. Of course, I try to educate myself. But when it gets too difficult to understand, then I don't want to go there.
Yeah, I love that. Keep it simple. Thank you. You're doing great work. I love talking to you. You've got great messages for people. So thank you so much. And thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Cheers. Thanks, Lottie.
Thanks.
So good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sticking all the way through till the end. I'm so excited. On the 11th of January, Lottie and I will be running a Fascia and Breathwork release 4-week program. It starts on the 11th of Jan. The link is down below. An intimate affair where we can be with you anywhere in the world, help you release your fascia. Each week will be focused on a different element of your body. Limited, so when tickets are gone, they're gone. So if you're curious and you've enjoyed this podcast, then I highly recommend you click the link, have a look at what we're offering, and if it's for you, secure yourself a ticket. And I cannot wait to serve you with Lottie. Lottie, the reason I had her on here twice is she is one of the top experts on this planet when it comes to fascia, and I can think of nobody else better to partner with, so that we can all learn how to release our fascia and move clearer and think better and all those amazing things. So thank you for watching. Have a look at the link below. I look forward to serving you very soon. Cheers.